but it's been quite a while since he was prioritized this highly in a draft, especially on Infernal Shrines.
Yeah. Okay, so quick update, guys. It looks like HotsLady just executed KIS super mercilessly during that push. It was actually the first Immortal they ever unlocked, and then we had a power outage or some internet drops or whatever. Apparently it didn't affect the players at all, so HotsLady was just able to finish the game on Battlefield of Eternity, and we're moving right into game number 2, so at least there won't be any more downtimes to kind of endure. And we're moving right to Infernal Shrines, the next Diablo map, and the draft so far looking pretty good for HotsLady in red once again, with that infamous Oriel Vala combination that we've seen plenty of times now from Chinese teams throughout this first day of HGC China. So really, really cool to see Zarya actually getting the same prioritization now as in Korea. Like Zarya, first ban, first pick material across the board, and rightfully so in my opinion.
This is pretty interesting to have Ariel picked up this early. We don't see this in other regions. Ariel has stopped being valued pretty much because she's relatively easy to counter with Chromie. And if you talk to Chris or a couple of other Chromie people who play Chromie a lot on the ladder, they'll tell you Infernal Shrines is one of Chromie's best maps. But we just don't see it, and it's so interesting that because specific heroes are not played in a particular meta, other heroes suddenly get a chance to shine and even be prioritized as first picks. It makes me wonder exactly how much HGC China has been paying attention to the other regions.
Yeah.
Because I know for like a fact that Korea at least will watch the EU games to try and understand their meta, because they're, the Fnatic beat MB Black by at BlizzCon by prepping specifically for that matchup. And if one team can do that, then other teams potentially could do it. They could bring themselves up to that level if they prepped enough and were prepared for that specific team. So they need to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't feel like China watches anyone. It really feels like they play their meta, they scrim against whoever they scrim against, and that's it. They're just done. They don't. These drafts are not things we would see in any other region because of how easy they would be to counter by the other regions in meta heroes.
Yeah, China oftentimes really developing its own meta, not just in Heroes of the Storm, but in many other titles or esports titles in general. I know from several other games that China is always known to do their own thing. They're playing more aggressively than other regions traditionally, and I think the same can be said about Heroes of the Storm as well. They're putting so much emphasis on team fighting, on getting good engages down, rather than always trying to play the map or just going for a more macro game approach. So let's see. We see a Sonya ban, and I really have to say that I like that quite a bit, because it doesn't really look like KIS has a lot of anti-Sonya tools available, like no reliable CC is what I'm talking about. So they're just getting rid of the Sonya altogether. Also, if you consider what battleground they're playing on, Sonya is just so good on Infernal Shrines. She can spin to win, soak up additional health from the nearby skeletons. She's a good soul laner. She can do mercenary camps in some downtime situations. So getting rid of one of the most scary warriors in the game on Infernal Shrines is actually a quite good thing.
That is an insane amount of dive and damage now. They have Vala and Greymane, two of the top
Judgment question mark
in the game right now. They have the tier. I'm not going to say it because last
we've
time I
seen it
didn't
before.
Judgment either, and we saw Judgment. In this case, like I feel like Vala, Greymane diving in together really need the sanctification to play make and get on top of the medic and be like, okay, now we traded medic, or we killed medic, traded essentially her life for sanctification. And now we can pretty much clean up this fight, even if we lose one or two heroes as a result. But
chat actually brought up a really good point now, because our chat actually raised a very valid question. I feel, where is Malfurion? Like, we've seen it multiple times now that heroes like Oriel and Lieutenant Morales seem to be valued more than a Malfurion, which has been for a very long time the best support or the most picked support across all regions, except for China.
I don't know where Malfurion is. We've actually seen this region run Ariel and Malfurion in the same comp before. It would not be unprecedented for them to actually pick Malfurion here and go double support Malfurion Ariel. I don't think we're going to see that, but
No Rhaegar either, no Lucio.
Give
Like
their
all
draft.
the holy trinity, if you will, in the current meta. At least if you're watching EU and NA and Korea, like none of those heroes is valued at all. And it's not like we're playing on Towers of Doom, where an Oriel or Luther Morales could traditionally get in a little bit more value. We're playing on Infernal Shrines, which is the go-to battleground and the most picked battleground, if you will. Yes.
Finally, we get to see Arthas. That's the first Arthas pickup we've seen all day. And this is a combination I love.
So
Arthas
sick.
Tyrael
So
is
sick.
one of the strongest double front lines in the entire game, because Arthas' main problem is that lack of movement speed. Tyrael gives him movement speed. He can suddenly just move quite a bit faster. And that makes him a far more threatening presence, because he can get on top of you and then you simply cannot get away.
That's for the same reason we tend to see a lot of Lucio Arthas as well. Like, if you have a mobility boost, if you have a movement speed boost for Arthas, his threatening potential just multiplies. Because his greatest weakness is mobility if you can reach your targets to slow their attack speed and their movement speed. But if you have someone like Tyrael helping you out, you're going to be in a fantastic spot for sure. And judging from what I saw during that draft, I like the lineup from HotsLady like way more. I think they really got themselves a solid draft. Now, the only thing that needs to happen is Tyrael needs to go Sanctification. I don't want to see a Judgment anymore. They do have Arthas already to engage. I don't think they need to take that unnecessary risk.
And they really don't. They're going to be perfectly fine as long as they play safe and sort of play disciplined.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, is not something we see very often. It's very hard to consistently go in together as a team or to play passively as a team. You usually have one person who sees an opportunity and they go and they don't communicate it correctly. Good comms are just extremely difficult to have in professional play. It's something teams struggle with literally every day.
Now, we saw Arthas, which is a great choice, don't get me wrong, but I took another look at the draft coming in here from KIS, and we see heroes like Gul'dan and Ragnaros. Even an Anubarak would have been a fantastic addition, I feel, next to the Tyrael, because then they would have had like 2 anti-magic tanks in the current meta, but Anubarak just doesn't really seem to be there yet. He probably got lost on the way to China.
He probably just, can't swim. He's a bug.
Yeah, can't swim, couldn't burrow all the way,
float.
you know?
He should have taken Underking. He would have gotten all the way there.
Well said. Okay, so let's take a look at our two teams here. The series is currently 1-0 in favor of HotsLady. They picked a very resilient team comp. Double Warrior coming in here with Tyrael and Oriel. Actually, I'm going to reduce the volume a little bit because I think with the restart of the stream, they upped the volume a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. RIP headphone users. I think, though, judging from that last draft, we now seem to be on sync with our clean feeds. I'm not sure, though. Can you give me a little bit of feedback, like what minute or what seconds you're running now, Cavalier?
I'm 36 in game right now. And we are going to see Q build coming out of Gul'dan. This is something that we started to see in Korea specifically to be a really good, consistent battery for Ariel. But Lockdown decided he liked the sustained damage from build so much, he just started running it in everything and then winning with it. And now a lot of players have started to do it. If you have burst from someone else in your team, or you just really, really want to win a huge poke war with lots and lots of sustain, which is something that Meta gives you, you can go for this build and just sort of slowly wear your opponents down. And on Shrines in particular, the amount of consistent burst damage it gives you in such a large area allows you to steal a lot of shots, or minions rather, away.
It gives you so much. As you said, it gives you more burst damage against the minion waves, or the skeleton waves, if you will. But it also allows you to position yourselves a little bit more safely because you get more or longer range as well later on. So it has so many advantages, especially on a crowd or on a wave clear heavy map like Infernal Shrines. But we see First Blood going down here in favor of HotsLady once more. Dehaka is like no more, and it was actually a very close survival on Tyrael as well, but that's of course one of the advantages when you have a Tyrael nearby. The Righteousness shields can never be underestimated, and he's only going to get more supportive and tankier as time goes by, and especially against a team from KIS, I think Tyrael's 15 magic armor that he now possesses are going to come in quite significantly.
Yeah, a lot of Rag's damage is actually ability based, despite the fact that he is
Yep.
a melee assassin. He's sort of the first sustained ability damage melee assassin. And Gul'dan, of course, with Q-Bolt in particular, lots and lots of sustained ability damage. And we're going to see the mobility advantage coming out here a little bit. We see Lewis on the side trying to get the Q in, making the enemy team back up, and then being able to allow for the disengage Arthas comes in, and then is forced to back up. But everyone is so low right now from KIS. I don't think they get out of the situation.
Yeah, they took so much damage, and that is something we haven't talked about. Like, Arthas is this is this unpassable menace just that you can't really walk by. Like, if he has his Frozen Tempest available, if he's in a good position from the get-go, it's really, really hard to just ignore him and walk past to get to the backline. Like, Arthas is a great peeler, despite not having the mobility tools that other warriors have, like an ETC or a Murden, but his sheer AoE slow and attack speed slow is enough for a backliner like Vala or Oriel to survive. So really, really great play by Arthas in particular. We see Tyrael just cheekily diving over the wall, but of course he is going to be safe because most of the enemy's attention now lies on this first Punisher. And, you know, they're actually playing this very well, HotsLady, that is. They're not really over-committing to this push too hard. They didn't forget about soaking the other lanes. Greymane has been taking care of the top lane here. They also soaked in the middle, so we see another replay here. This is probably where you can really see Arthas slowing both warriors at the same time, allowing Vala to just retreat. Same goes for Oriel. And there he really shows his value. Carlo, great play there.
And we see a really classic ETC mistake there as well. Power sliding through the front line leaves you massively overextended, particularly when you have a medic. She can't get to you without getting in range of the enemy team's front line, so they can suddenly be on top of her and she just dies. You can't do that. You kind of have to slide across the front line as ETC, or even go for some sort of aggressive flank behind and then slide through to your team. You can't overextend that far, especially against Arthas, because again, you'll never get away from him once the slide is down. You need that mobility. And there it is again, HotsLady getting on top of someone. And
yeah, that was actually a really sick save here by Pommy on the Morales. Kept Gul'dan alive for a long period of time, but that's also the disadvantage of Morales. She has no AoE healing capabilities. In the meantime, Ragnaros was kind of isolated and fell quickly under the pressure from HotsLady. So, on the one hand, it's nice to save someone, but if Rag falls in the process, it's not really that good. Also, impressive body blocking by Tyrael in general, constantly using his superior mobility and his body as well, his angelic body, to secure that the enemies won't get away that easily. So, in terms of raw mechanics and decision-making and shot calling, I actually like HotsLady already. Like, they really had good focus fire in that engagement as well. And it might be due to the fact that KIS just isn't really on the same level as other teams in the Chinese HGC. But it might also be just due to the fact that HotsLady as a team improved greatly compared to last season.
I feel like they have, like, watching their map movements, I can tell you that they're already significantly better. They are playing against a slightly weaker team than I think this may be one of the weakest teams in the Chinese region. We haven't seen the other two amateur teams that did qualify on the back of the Zero Panda disbanding and the need for 8 teams to be in HGC. But their map movements are significantly better. They got those kills, they got the shrine, and they didn't miss any soak in the lanes while doing it. Greymane immediately rotated back up and made sure to clear the top lane, make sure they didn't miss soak. They would not have done that when I cast them in GCWC in the Chinese Wildcard qualifier. Nice. They would just have missed, they would maybe have gotten the skills, but they would have definitely missed that soak.
So HotsLady here receiving praise and being knighted by the one and only Cavalier. I like it, but I have to agree, like, they're playing this map super well so far. Also, the mechanical prowess here on Oz from the Greymane, not getting caught and jumping left and right in his Worgen form. Really a pleasure to behold. Once again, we see Arthas going in now. Level 10 is online, so Sanctification going down as well as the Army of the Dead here, and you just can't run away from an Arthas once he's close to you and once he locks you down with that Frozen Tempest. A pleasure to watch here for sure, and it is kind of questionable why KIS didn't disengage earlier. They don't have anyone split soaking either except for the bottom. There's no one in top. There's no one doing mercenary camps. Those are all the things you need to do when the enemy team is about to hit level 10 and you're not. So you don't want to go for those team fights. You want to do mercenary camps in the meantime. You just want to disengage and farm peacefully. I'm starting to get worried a little bit for KIS here if the trend continues.
We talked about it before the game started a little bit, but I think this is just nerves. This is the first time KIS has been in a casted game on a stage like this in front of a live audience, and that puts a certain amount of mental pressure on you. You're not going to play at the top of your game. You're going to make small mistakes, and small mistakes in Heroes of the Storm against a good team that can punish them end up looking like the game's completely one-sided, even if the teams are, you know, relatively close to the same level. And currently this game does look pretty one-sided, but, you know, KIS is occasionally making the right decision. Occasionally they're not pressured. They're like, oh yeah, we have to do this, so they send someone to do that. But then something happens and they have to think like really, really quickly, and it's always a little bit slow. The reaction is a little bit delayed. And they keep missing. Like, that is a perfectly timed molten core right there. That's when you want to do it before the gate goes down, so you can make sure you don't get interrupted out of it. You can get the maximum value. You can save the structure damage on the most important building. But it's one thing they did perfectly, and 9 things they did a little bit late.
And also, it just feels really bad when you just unlocked your level 10 talents, and by the time you did so, the enemies are about to hit level 13. So once again, this whole chase, this whole race starts anew. We're just constantly behind, not really able to engage any team fights or so. So it's really just a question of mental fortitude now for KIS. They just need to remain calm and collected. They just need to wait for their opportunity. Once again, they just need to soak all 3 lanes. Look at top, for example. I think Ragnarus could have actually stayed there like way earlier, because now the mercenary camp, the fallen shaman camp in that instance, gets more damage done than it should have normally. So I think they mainly have to work on their rotations right now.
And this is something we see from relatively inexperienced teams, or even teams that haven't played enough at the high level. It took professional teams a long time to understand how important macro is, how wave clear enabled rotations and allowed you to have a number of advantages in the lane. But you could, the key was you could just never miss out. Everything happened between missing waves. There's a tempo to the game. You get the waves, and then you look for the picks, or then you look for the advantage.
Like right now,
on the map.
just in excuse me, teamfight is going down here. Once again, HD in the backline getting troubled, getting surrounded almost, but it is Vala that actually falls, and Soap is well under pressure now, but Morales is doing God's work, keeping Ragnar's alive for now, and it is HotsLady on the retreat. Scratch what we said earlier, but look at that beautiful re-engage. Gets taken out immediately though, and HotsLady, it is a 2-for-2 trade. They need to be on the run. Oriel in particular is not a good sustained healer. She needs someone to deliver the damages, and with Vala being dead and Grayman being dead, that is no longer the case. But what you said earlier, I think I was about to say that KIS wasted a lot of time even trying to save that fort with 4 members. Like, instead of just saving something that can't be saved eventually, you just want to prioritize something else. You want to get some split push going. You want to get some mercenaries in the meantime. I think it was more because HotsLady didn't do well in that team fight that they were able to get some value rather than just KIS playing super well.
Yeah, but it is worth noting that comeback mechanic experience is in play here. KIS did come out of that fight overall ahead. They completely closed the tier gap. They are now 13 to 14, and they're going to be able to contest the shrine on even talent tiers with only Mosh not being available. Every other heroic will be up here momentarily, which puts them in a relatively even position. Sank will also not be up, so this is the most even team fight they're going to have had all game so far.
This is definitely KIS time to shine here. They just need to make sure that they won't take an advantage they cannot handle. ETC going in, Sulfur Smash connecting and landing beautifully. The fear goes down as well, and 1-2 team members from HotsLady fall under the pressure, and this is exactly what KIS was looking for. They were looking for that good Sulfurous. They were planning and timing it really, really well, not really overlapping the Sulfurous and the fear. Sometimes if you have those 2 wombo combo mechanics, they can actually interfere with each other. In this case, though, they were perfectly synchronized, and we gotta give it to our underdog team here. Their comeback mechanics are so far pretty good. Oh my goodness, that MLG grenade.
Absolutely gorgeous. Those are the most satisfying kills in the entire game. When you're playing Morales and you last hit someone with a grenade, especially someone as tanky as Arcus, that's not something you get to see very often. That
did you see that funky pull though?
That fight, like, by itself. That is maybe the play of the game for KIS so far.
Absolutely, like, that fear was everything they needed, and they actually still have Mosh Pit available, but this is a good zoning sanctification. Turiel actually securing his own survival, taking and absorbing a lot of damage here, and it looks like HotsLady is actually able to finally get some kills under their belts as well, but at what cost? They only killed ETC, lost 2 members in the progress, and KIS is still saying, hello, we're just going to continue pushing, and all of a sudden, looky IGN, we're tied 15 to 15 after a 3 or 2 level lead from HotsLady. Great play by our Dark Horse team.
I can't believe KIS made that such a big gap. We're going to see the value from the medevac here. Everyone does back for full health and mana, and then medevac just brings them all back to lane. They're not going to miss that soak. They can pick up 16 off that bottom wave if they wait for it. You can see they're kind of waiting around for it. They don't want to go out into the lane and potentially get engaged on by HotsLady, which would have happened because they did grab that camp and then immediately rotate to the bottom lane so they could grab the neutral camp as well. EDC is going to start moving into the mid lane. Dahaka's already top. He's hiding in the bush. He's waiting to see the wave come up and see where HotsLady opts to go. And that is just one of those things. It's manipulating vision. It's something we start to see top teams doing. And to see KIS doing it this early on in their career, to start manipulating vision into the late game like this, to make HotsLady have to be more cautious in their rotations, is promising for their future.
Yeah, very good point here indeed, Cavalier. Now, there's going to be another shrine activated relatively soon, and HotsLady do have a couple of nice tools to work with this time around. They have the Holy Crown from Tyrael. They have Greymane now having Executioner as well. So Oriel actually took the attack speed increase here at level 16 too, which works great on both Vala and Greymane. So I think in terms of raw team fighting mechanics and capabilities, they can actually do a lot more now, HotsLady that is. But on the by the same token, though, they can't allow themselves to get caught anymore just like that. Especially the frontline from KIS, Kite and Miracle, I think, on the Dahaka it was. They did some great work in general when it came to locking individual targets down, like the Greymane or like the Tyrael.
And it's going to be a much different scenario, I think, at 16. These heroes are so strong. Arthas also has Remorseless Winter now, so he's going to have a lot more lockdown. If he can get on top of Medic, Medic just will be... It's impossible for Medic to get away at that point. The question is, can you kill Arthas in order to save the Medic? And through Army of the Dead, that's just not going to be very likely. But HotsLady...
And I love that rotation. I love exactly what they're doing here.
That Punisher is not guaranteed to get a keep. HotsLady is guaranteed to get a keep if they just go and grab it. So we're going to see the rotation from KIS to force them back while they leave Rag on the shrine. But opening up a keep means that HotsLady can now, if they win a team fight definitively, they can guarantee the end of the game.
Oh, that was one hell of a detainment strike here, knocking ETC out of our screen almost. But it was needed, and it was well-timed as well, because something that KIS was really trying to do here is they wanted to punish the reckless positioning by HotsLady, and they wanted to maybe get some kills as a retaliation strike, but so far they weren't able to get anything done. And you can even see they didn't get to finish the Punisher. Instead, they only left Rag there to basically clear it all by themselves. And if they're not paying attention, Ragnos might actually fall. Tyrael now in trouble, though, getting chased by multiple members from KIS. And this is a very hectic, a very frantic moment right now in the game. Dahaka taking a lot of damage, burrows down into the ground, though, to stay alive for now. But both warriors, both ETC and Dahaka, took a lot of damage here. And HotsLady, they're doing a great job at just stalling time. And as you said, Cavalier, the Punisher is not guaranteed to get anything except for that fort. But the fact that they had a superior rotation in top lane and secured themselves catapults in top lane is huge for HotsLady.
Now, HotsLady is pushing into this very aggressively, actually. They're next to their fort. They do back up there finally. I was a little bit concerned there that ETC could potentially loop around and get a slide mosh if HotsLady stayed there for even a second longer. But that gives you an idea of how strongly they understand the heroes that they're up against on KIS's side. They're like, we can stay here for this long and no longer. And they immediately backed up. We are going to see the sidewall get prioritized, but KIS sees the health from the Punisher. They know they can't get any more out of this. They get the tower and the gate, and they just back off.
Yeah, and the Punisher is no more. Very well defended here by HotsLady. But during all of this, Dahaka has been doing a good job just blitz soaking, getting a little bit more value from the other lanes, pushing them in so they have more vision on their opponent, so they know exactly where HotsLady is going to go next. And I really like that move. And HotsLady, they don't have goal mobility to sort of answer the Dahaka shenanigans, so Dahaka is going to have a very important role here in general. Keep in mind that he went for isolation, by the way, so he's not going to be nearly as tanky and sustainable as other Dahakas are when they go for adaptation. So they go for a little bit more of the aggressive route to maybe blind the Oriel, to maybe blind the Tyrael, so that one of those big panic buttons like the Crystal Aegis or the Sanctification possibly won't go off.
That's what they've been looking for. They've been trying to get the isolation as a follow-up to slide on the Tyrael so they can kill that front line. They did get it onto the Vala once, I believe, and that is, post 10, that fight pretty much ended instantly when that happened. That was you're in a bush. I see you there. Detainment strike again. These detainment strikes is bush checks. That is a very long cooldown.
Yeah.
But they are just like, I'm not going to chase that bush, especially in the Chinese meta. You got to check every single bush because the Chinese love sitting in their bushes.
Absolutely. And you know what, Cavalier? I think the downtime on the stream here, on the clean feed, actually brought our two clean feeds closer together. So I don't think we're nearly as split in temporal progress as we were before. So
Awesome.
awesome,
That's
digging it.
production value the silver lining, right? The stream went down for a little bit, but now
totally worth it
I
if you
don't
ask
have
me.
to pretend to not be 6 seconds ahead.
All right,
really difficult.
I totally hear you because it's super hard to contain your excitement sometimes, right? And you just want to say what's going on the screen, and then you realize, oh, the stream is actually a couple of seconds behind, so it just ruined all the fun. But I think we're not really going to suffer from that anymore, as the streams seem to be much closer to each other. Now, we see level 20 online for KIS, who were actually 2 levels behind in the early stages of the game. They're now in a commanding lead, and HotsLady, they just need to make sure not to get caught on while not being 20 themselves. They need to soak a couple of lanes. They also need to deal with this mercenary camp, in the top lane. During all of this, though, KIS is getting a nice chunk of skeletons here, and ETC using the blink to dive in and stun multiple people, but I think this mosh pit is not ideal. Actually gets stunned in the nick of time here. Also, the Crystal Age is saving Turiel, but it's not going to be enough. But did they waste too many cooldowns on just one target? It doesn't seem like it. So once again, well played by KIS, isolating the Turiel very well with the Golden Fear once more. I think the Sanctification was used a little bit too prematurely here, Cavalier.
The situation wasn't used at all. It's still available. I think he got.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're right.
I think he was trying to use it, and he actually got Aegis, so that interrupted it. And then the Sulfur Smash follow-up pretty much guaranteed the kill. That was a unusual zoning mosh, but it is something you can do when you're fighting in that tight corridor, and you can deny the save. You can deny the healer from getting into range by doing it. And it just allowed them to get the focus. They're going to guaranteed get the keep here, I believe. Yeah. And if HotsLady's not careful, they need to back up as soon as the keep goes down, because Rag will immediately get into it and will have that.
And that's exactly what he's doing. Soap hopping into that keep, unleashing full Molten Core action here. The Punisher is still in decent shape, helping out with another jump here on Arthas. He was also silenced, so there was no self-protection going on. Also, last second save here on Vala, who was focused heavily, and it looks like KIS is on the warpath here. They're trying to end the game right here, right now. ETC, another golden blink, locking Greymane down, and I think this is it, Cavalier. I think KIS has done what many people thought was not possible. They tied the series 1-1. We don't really care about that Mr. Furious smash because everything else just worked like a charm. It is 1-1. KIS coming back in dominant fashion. Well played.
That was actually an amazing late game. From the moment they took that fight in the bottom, they were just ahead in every way. They didn't drop any more team fights. They didn't drop any more map objectives. They were always active on the map, punishing, pressing. And it seems like KIS is a team that doesn't do well on the back foot for the most part. But if they're allowed to play their own game and be aggressive and pressure him when they want to, and they win fights, they're willing to commit really hard. This is something we saw in the early days of the top Korean teams. They would see someone step out of a bush and they would be like, 3 heroics? Okay, done. That guy's dead. Yeah. And not even before an objective, they would just be like, we're going to do this right now. And having that level of committing to a fight is really important. Sometimes you have to start to tone it down when you realize this is enough. We don't need to do everything. But it's better overkill than not a kill.